what changes have you observed in the support of figurative painting over the last many decades?
Well, thank you. First, let me say it's a pleasure to be here, and particularly to be on the panel with two artists I've written about in admiration, which is Julie and Vincent. I'll get around to writing about you eventually. I thought rather than address the question directly, I'd approach it indirectly, and the way I thought I'd deal with this question of the rough time that figurative art had is to talk about why, what art is dominant now, and why figurative art hasn't been, shall we say, accepted in whatever is mainstream officially. And I thought a good example of what is dominant now, what is significant now, is a work of art that exists right now. This is a situation, of course, of many artists, many kinds of art made, so it's difficult. But right now, there is in Versailles a work by Olafur Eliasson. It's illustrated in Time magazine. It's a waterfall. It's made mechanically. The pipes are there, which support, a crane supporting pipes which pump water skyward, okay? And Ellison then describes it as a very Baroque creation, experience, and celebrates our ability to be creative. Well, first of all, what strikes me about this work is it's all publicity. It's about the public, it's about exhibitionism. It has no human relevance at all. It is sited at a place that is very prominent, famous, historically significant. So essentially he's appropriating the significance of this place, Versailles. The water goes into the Grand Canal. So he's essentially, so to say, riffing off a creativity of the past that was greater than his own. The next thing is its spectacle. It's a big spectacle. It's mechanically made. The next thing to say is his idea of Baroque. He trivializes the idea completely. It's hype. And our ability to be creative, which says absolutely nothing whatsoever. So what you have here is an art which is exploitive of an environment, which is spectacle, which is show business. And you can't be an art today without being entertaining and show business. And this is very entertaining. It's amusing. Versailles is a tourist destination. As we all know, cultural tourism is the big tourism today. So this gives you an added tickle when you go to Versailles. So wow, you see a waterfall over there. And isn't it exciting? Aren't there some waterfall sites in 5 corners or something like that? One of the amusement parks. So Versailles has turned into an amusement park. Art has to be amusing today. I could point out other people, perhaps our own Jeff Koons has struck me as very symptomatic when the Broad Museum opened up, that the work that they had in the window was a Koons, and it was the guy with his monkey who passed away, unfortunately. Michael Jackson with his monkey. So it was an entertainer. So art has to be entertaining. It has to be part of the popular culture. And this is sort of popular. Everybody likes a waterfall, even if it's an artificial waterfall. There should be a slide there, actually, would make it more participatory art, you know. All right, so all of the things that are missing here are what I think figurative art today is trying to restore. Figurative art in this room by Odd Nerdrum, figurative art of these various people. First, a sense of intimacy. It invites you in rather than keeps you out, okay? So this art keeps you out. There's no inside to this. There's just water. The inside is a machine. It's just machine-generated waterfall. It's not even a natural waterfall. It may be symptomatic how the whole world's becoming artificial. You know, if you want, you can read all kinds of cultural meaning into it. But you can't read any art meaning, and for me that involves some aesthetic meaning. A waterfall, you can say, has a certain aesthetic to it if you want, but that's not his aesthetic. He's appropriating that aesthetic. He's not done anything to the waterfall. He's not, so to say, created into it, to use the language of psychoanalyst Winnicott. There's no creation ex nihilo. You create into something. The art that we see here invites us into the picture. It invites us into a human story, presented allegorically, symbolically. You can interpret it various ways. It addresses the body also. One of the things that's notoriously missing in the modern art is the sense of the body, of viscerality. There was a key moment in the history of modern art which very important in the development of abstraction, but really in the end proved disastrous, which is when Kandinsky separated the haystack from the color, okay? The haystack was what it was, color was what it was, both very important, okay? And the issue today is how do you get these back together? All right, we've refined art for the sake of art. We've had art refined, refined, refined. Perhaps the ultimate statement of a color art is Ellsworth Kelly, who passed away recently. The exhibition at San Francisco Museum of Art, nicely, interestingly shaped, strong colors. Okay, so color, color, color. We've had that going on. You can read lots of texts about the importance of color. But color of what? Okay, color of what? So the color cannot be separated from the materiality, from the bodiliness. The next thing that I think that this art offers that is extremely important is not only a sense of the inside, not only a sense of the human figure, of the body, re-engaging with the body, but it offers a certain sense of reflection. It invites us to reflect. It's not just an immediate sensation, which is what this is. This is all immediate. There it is. We got the waterfall. Click. Okay. Voila. You know, I take my photograph and I go home. This invites us to invest our thinking into it, to mediate. We mediate with it. So I think that's the issue. Now, I would say, not to say too much more, but say one thing. The resistance to this kind of art in the art world and is the triumph of, let's call it, modernism in its variety of forms, of abstraction variety of forms, has to do with a larger issue than art. It has to do with our society. It has to do with the fact that what you have in abstract art, as brilliant as a lot of it is, okay, and I think the best abstract art gives us what I call an experience of lived sensuousness, you know, strong sensuousness, but it conveys our alienation from ourselves. I hate to use that overword word, alienation, but it conveys that. So we get this quote, supposedly higher experience, refined aesthetic experience, but it separates us from the larger existential situation. What interests me about this art is it has existential relevance, it has existential value, and it reminds us that we exist despite the fact that we live in a world which seems, so to say, inimical to human existence, as we see this, in which life has become increasingly cheap, as I see it, in which there's violence and destructiveness. So there is some sense of something being preserved here that is slowly being eroded, eliminated, having a problematic existence, so to say. So that would be my argument, that the art world resistance, if you want to call it that, to that, to this, has partly to do that. Also, something else about our beloved art world, everybody talks about diversity. It is not a place of diversity. It is a place of inertial systems, okay? There's a certain belief system, a very tired and old belief system in something called the avant-guard. Theodor Adorno, who I admire very much, said, if you want to call yourself avant-garde, you're just saying you're young. That's all. Okay. So you haven't matured. You haven't matured. I think that's a little ironical, overstated, but there's a certain point. So avant-garde, avant-garde. Well, what is avant-garde now? It has become a meaningless idea. There have been a number of scholars, critics, theorists who argue that it's a totally passé idea, that avant-garde ideas have been assimilated, as it were. And so the larger issue now is how do we get all this brilliant refinement of color, line, etc., all these things that have been talked about endlessly in various ways by avant-garde artists, together with the human existence, human experience, human figure. I think the artist who poses this dilemma, if I may say so, is Picasso. Okay, so Picasso is split right down the middle between this, and he faces this, doesn't quite resolve it. You may recall years ago there was an exhibition of his work which dealt with his abstract surreal work, this is using my art, and his so-called Ang type work. It was back and forth, didn't quite know where to go. And he poses the dilemma. He's not the only one, but he does it in a sort of conspicuous way if you look at his work overall. And also, if he didn't go towards complete abstraction, he mocked the old masters. You know that, like Rembrandt works, always appropriating from them, dependent on them, twisting and turning them So acknowledge their inescapability. Okay, that's another larger issue, the inescapability of the past. And I think what we're having here now is a return to the repressed. That's what's going on in this exhibition. The repressed figure, the repressed body, okay, the neglect of our own particular existence. That's all I'm saying.